So my response after watching the video by Brian Wakeoff, if I said that right, talking about the culture and the traditions and the people involved in this culture and their traditions, and how food is a representation of who they are and their traditions and their history. Also, how much of a pain it is to make. They give you like an instructional list on everything, and something so simple as that, like pastry, represents so much to that culture. And even talking about how that town kind of got through a really devastating time after the weather crisis issue that happened that really took out their town, and how they got through that and what made them the people they are today, and like the stories and the embarkment on like their own personal journeys. And yeah, it just makes me think how simple like food is. I mean, my whole life I always thought like, well, this food, like it tastes good, whatever, but there's so much more meaning to that, and it's so much more a representation of different people and cultures and where we're all from, why that dish is what it is, and like what brought it together, like the different flavors in the recipe that took, and how it's changed and evolved, or how it stayed the same, but it really represents that culture. And for me, my family's Vietnamese, so anytime we get together and we'll eat, most of the time it's like Vietnamese food, and so they'll talk about like their time in Vietnam or their food like there versus here, and the different varieties of what that food means. I mean, it is really interesting. I've always kind of thought that like I want to like burgers and pizza my whole life, but now as I'm getting older, I'm realizing like how important like eating and listening to other stories and storytellers and what their definition of their food and their culture means to them, and then thinking it as a whole. And I really have a more open-minded to stuff like that now than I was when I was a kid, definitely. And I'm like more experimental about like where I eat, like I always try to go to like different places like that I haven't been before, and try to talk to the people that made the dish or the owners if I can, and just kind of understand like where that came from and where those people came from, this and that, and their take on like what that dish means to them and what it means to other people, So absolutely can connect this to my family story and their places and their practicing on how they cook my own, like our family food, and the stories that go with the food from their experiences as like a kid, or this and that. And there's it's a long list of different takes on that dish that my family will make, and I just love hearing it. I love listening, and now that I'm going to college and this and that, I'm realizing how like with this different perspective, like how interesting different dishes are and what this symbolizes to them, but how also it symbolizes to people not of that culture that may try it for the first time too. So